You've probably asked yourself a question in the last few years, such as, boy, the economy is pretty bad. Do I want to participate in this bad economy? Have you asked yourself that question? And what was your answer? No. No. Because we have a choice. We have an attitude. And what drives us to overachieve and to become who we are as successful people means we don't have to participate in anything that is negative or bad. Our next speaker is going to share more information about that because Mike Cottle has chosen to not participate in a bad economy. In fact, he believes if you're going to be in business, you better think big. And if you're going to think big, you've got to drive yourself to be successful. And it's easy to do, and it's not so easy to do. It's your choice. I think Mike is here to share some insight and wisdom that'll make our jobs easier to do. So with a rounding applause, let's invite Mike Cottle up to the front, share some of his insight and wisdom.
She's my pride and joy. She's my sweet little baby. I'm a little lover boy.
Welcome, Mike.
Hold on one
You
second.
got to turn your mic on, Mike. All right. See, you forgot. That's the
Testing, 1, 2.
Hear him okay?
Mic for the mic.
All right.
Steve, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We're going to do a little interview style here with Mike Cottle. And, it's like I have the pleasure of doing this business that I have at contractorselling.com and with Total Immersion is meeting some of the finest, not just contractors, but people in the world. And I tell you right now, Mike certainly qualifies in that category. Anybody in this room could talk. He's approachable. He will talk to anybody. And it's rare when you have a client where you learn just about as much as you teach. And so it's an interactive. I don't consider it a one-sided relationship where I am providing everything to Mike. Because of the things that he provides for me, makes my job a lot easier to provide for him. I think it's a partnership. Don't you feel, Mike?
Absolutely.
And Mike, I'm going to ask you flat out. What is your goal? Your eventual goal. You have a big goal.
Right.
Then you have a series of other yearly goals. Go ahead and tell me about your big goal.
The big, hairy, audacious goal is $100 million by 2022.
2022.
Yes.
So here we are in 2013. So you're saying now in 9 years from now,
Yes.
we're going to be a $100 million company.
We will be. Yes.
So we're going to. That's what I said. And I said I'm on for the. I signed up for the to be on the train, right?
That's right.
And I said,
right. We got you a seat, Joe.
I didn't say we couldn't do that. Did I say we couldn't do that?
Nope.
Because I think
Never.
it's possible. Because I tell you what, anytime this guy says he wants to achieve something, he's done it. So I really don't think that. Let's give him a big hand for making those goals big. Now, Mike's at a little bit of a disadvantage because he's having some hot tea. He has a little bit of a cold, and so he's suffering a little bit. But he still came up here, and he's a professional, which means that even if he doesn't feel like doing it, he still does it anyway. That's how he rolls, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go over, Mike. Let's go over some of the stuff here. Tell us a little about Cole Service, how it got started, and how you kind of got into the plumbing and air conditioning, heating business at this point.
Well, that's a great question, Joe. Basically, just to make a long story really quick, I was in high school, not really sure where I wanted to go. Schooling wasn't for me, so I felt like I could do something with my hands, so I decided to go into trade school after graduating from high school. So I'm a plumbing technician by trade, and I always thought that there was a better way to do something. I was constantly, as Steve alluded to earlier, I was the one always asking the questions, and sometimes, and Joe will probably admit to this, maybe not publicly, but I'm a pain in the ass. I want to know why, right? When I was out in the field, if I fixed something, but I didn't know how I fixed it, I want to know why, right? Now it's, well, if there's a variance on a P&L or a GL number on your financials, and it's not right, I want to know why. We dig into it, we figure it out, and we move on. So during my career, and I've been blessed to be in this business for 30 years now, since 1983. I've had a lot of great experiences. I've got to meet a lot of great people. There's especially everybody in the room. I'm very honored to be up here in front of you today and very blessed. But one thing that I figured out a long time ago is that it's a choice, right? Every day is a choice. It's easy to do and it's easy not to do. And is that funny? Yeah. It's true. It's true. So there's a book called Slight Edge. It'll explain all that. I'm not an expert in it. I just live by those rules. So going back to Cole Services, I kind of went through new construction. Then I got into an opportunity to buy this business in 1996. When I purchased the company, they were doing about $200,000 a year in revenue, a little mom and pop shop, and I saw an opportunity, totally technician driven though, didn't know anything about the business, and fumbled around there for, up until 2009, I would say. Kind of got a little bit of an education in 2000 through a different organization, but was really wanting to do more. I'm sure all of you, at one time or another, the business owners in the room, have sat back and said, I'd like to be a $10 million company. I'd like to be a $20 million company. But what are the actions that you need to take to get there? And then the question is, are you willing to do that? Easy to do, easy not to do. Reflecting back, I kind of really was lost in a haze for, from 96 to maybe 2008, 2009. And then I had a defining moment in my life. So I was in the audience as you folks were. I'd owned Cole Services for about 13 years. And I thought that we were doing well, but we kind of hit our platform there, doing about $3.5–4 million a year for the last 4 or 5 years, and decent revenue. But this obviously you've been blessed to, if you live here or if you visit here, there's a lot of people here. There's between LA and Orange County, there's about 12.5–13 million people. So there's a lot of opportunities. So a $4 million company is a speck on the windshield, so to speak. So I had a defining moment. I had an opportunity to see some companies that were a lot larger than me. I said, hey, those guys put on their shoes and their pants the same way I do. I can do that. So I went back. I told my leadership team at the time, I said, I'm all in. Let's do this. They had my back. I shared the vision. And I think within 2 weeks, we drafted up the $100 million plan.
Mike, can I ask you a question? How important is it? I think, when I remember back when I had the similar epiphany when I had my business and the heating and air conditioning and plumbing business, it was the first time I had that epiphany is seeing somebody else have the same vision I had and actually experiencing a walk through their company. How important is it, do you think, the average contractor in this room, the people who really want to take it to the next level, that you can't do it by yourself? You have to have the vision to see that company, that bigger company that's bigger than you, as opposed to, I think most people mix with the same size company. They go to the same trade shows, the same local ACA chapters and things like that, and that's all good. But you know what? I think it winds up just kind of making you like the same. You took a leap of faith and said, I'm going to put, my ego's not my amigo, and I'm going to go ahead and talk to somebody who's more successful than me and have enough, chutzpah, or I have some other words I'll use, but I don't want to use them with
Keep
some
it
of the
clean,
people.
Joe.
I'm not trying to work blue today. I'm trying to work clean today. That's how I roll. So if anybody comes to my seminars, it gets a little spicy with the language sometimes. But you have to have enough self-confidence to ask somebody to do that. How important do you think it would be just to drop in, maybe to a non-competitor or a better business, even in your own area that's not a competitor? Maybe if you're an electrician, you'd visit a plumbing business. A lot of people just they fail to do that. What does it take? What was it about you that made you say, you know what, I feel like I could ask this person without coming off like I don't know what I'm talking about?
I think it just goes down to a core belief system. It's just it's picking up the phone and knowing what you want and clearing the future with that individual and letting them know that you're not a threat to them. You're not their competitor. You're there to help and an ally if you can. But listen, if you want to be a $20 million company and say you're $10 million right now, you don't go visit a $5 million company. Now, I'll back up because I'm not here to offend anybody. You can learn a lot of things from that $5 million company because a lot of times they don't have the resources that a $10 or $20 million company has, okay? But what we found is that we've seen a whole different level of strategy. A lot more resources and consultants, i.e. Uncle Joe. Just thinking on a different platform, a different level, right? There's things like, wow, I'd never even thought of that. So if you have an opportunity and there's somebody that's in a group that you belong to, definitely go visit them if that's what you inspire, and if you don't, that's okay too.
Right. I think it takes that inverse paranoia. Paranoia would be that if I asked somebody to take a tour of their business or do something like this, they would tell me no. Like, I'm too busy for this guy who's only a $4 million company to visit my. At the time, you're talking about a different company that's $26 million to $32 million at the time you probably approached them on the East Coast. And so what it developed into, though, was a kind of you provided information, you took a tour of his business, too, and not just was a passive fly on the wall. You offered some solutions for him, too, or for them, too, right?
Correct.
So it's a mutual thing. It's not just go and visit, suck up all the information. It's go there and visit and maybe offer information as well, too. So it becomes a mutual. Now it's not even a bother to pick up the phone and call that person, or doesn't have any paranoia involved with calling that person anymore, the bigger company?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. What happens is what I've learned in the past is that, number one, set an agenda. Be very clear on what you're trying to accomplish, what you want to see. Do you want to take a look at the call center? Do you want to look at dispatch? Do you want to look at the training of the technicians? Do you want to sit on any kind of meetings, technical training? It goes on and on and on as far as, what is your agenda? If anybody were to email me or call me and ask me, hey, I'd like to come and visit your shop, you will not come to my shop unless you provide me with an agenda. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'll try and give you as much as I can give you, but you won't come to my doors if you don't have an agenda. It's just flat out. If I feel that you came in and you didn't utilize anything that we were able to offer you, I probably won't let you back in. Just, it's not a kind of like, hey, I know this guy and he's a good guy, and there's kind of a motto that I just picked up recently. Either you want to be famous or you want to be rich. I just choose to be rich. So, good.
That's a good policy.
Yeah.
And let me talk about that a little bit. You're holding people accountable. That's a theme throughout the entire. So let's start the meat of the presentation, because we talked a lot of preempting here.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and get going here. So right now we talk about goals and visions. The vision, like you said before, you had a mentor who you saw the vision of what a company would look like if they were 4 times the size of yours or 3 times the size of yours, and what it would take, the kind of resources, the kind of office staff, the kind of technology, everything that would take, the leadership that it would take to achieve that kind of a goal. So once you saw that vision, it's almost like a dam that's ready to burst, doesn't it? How does it feel once that vision's locked in place? Tell me the kind of feeling you had when you got back to your shop and your mentor, the guy you went to,
yes,
was going to hold you accountable. And by the way, can we mention them, or do you feel comfortable mentioning them?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
It's Horizon Services in Delaware, and Wilmington, Delaware is a company that's growing to now they're going to be 70. They're going to be on track for $70 million this year. When they first started out, they were just a regular 2 brothers starting a company, and eventually acquisition and things like that, and grew. And they're good friends of ours and good friends of Mike's as well too, and great company to mentor. But I think it's important that Dave and those guys, and now yourself, won't just let people trample through the business unless something's done with the information. So, Mike, what's it like when you have all that information and you got to go back and try and implement it?
Well, number one, it goes back to people. I'm very blessed to have actually Marco Martinez in the room. He's general manager, and Lauren Reed, she's my marketing manager. Marco and I went to...
Could you guys stand up over there? Marco and Lauren, are you guys here?
Marco and Lauren.
Marco here? Where's he at? Right here. Give him a big hand. Nice job there.